What's going on, everybody? Wood Talk Sports back again with another mock draft. I wanted to be able to get back into the weekly swing of things as it is draft month. And I mean, we're getting so much closer. We're learning a little bit more about what teams are liking. We're learning a little bit more about what teams might be going with, As a Saints fan myself, the news recently of, maybe Shadur Sanders being a Saint has started to really roll out. And, it's something that I maybe not be a big fan of as a Saints fan, but it's happening. And you got other things like are the Browns going to take Shadur at 2? Are they going to focus Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at number 2? What are the Titans going to do still? We still don't fully know. In this video, though, we're going to try to start including trades. I'm going to include one trade in this video. I will not get into it right now. Obviously, you'll find out later in the video when we get there. But before we get started and go into the number 1 pick with the Tennessee Titans, do want to mention that a lot of you are not subscribed. I believe it's still about 99, maybe 98% of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. If you keep finding my content, you keep coming back to it, you keep on watching, you like it, you enjoy it, maybe it's your first time, you enjoy it, just hit the subscribe button. It's free, helps me out a ton, and I mean, let's hop right back into this video. So we'll start off with the first overall pick with the Tennessee Titans. And now I've been going Cam Ward a lot at number 1, but there is speculation they might go Abdul Carter. Maybe they go Travis Hunter. Obviously, their GM a while ago said, I'm not going to pass up on a generational talent in this draft. I still think that in the Titans' best scenario, they need to pick Cam Ward. That quarterback position is, Will Levis isn't your answer. There's a lot of problems with that team. I think if you get yourself Cam Ward at the number 1 overall pick and then second round, there's a lot of good wide receivers. Maybe one of the first round guys slips through. Maybe you get a wide receiver second round. I think that quarterback's just the number one need for Tennessee. So I'm going to stick with Cam Ward at first overall. Now, second overall to the Browns, I believe I went Abdul Carter at number 2 last mock draft, and then I did Shadur Sanders number 3 to the Giants. But we're gonna keep it going for the Browns. We're gonna go Abdul Carter again. And even though the Browns, I wouldn't say edge is the biggest need because of the Myles Garrett extension, I like Abdul Carter to the Browns because you get that pairing of Myles Garrett, who's there for 4 years with his new contract extension. And now you've got Abdul Carter, who's arguably one of the best prospects we've seen in a bit at the edge rusher position. And you've got him locked in for 4 or 5 years, depending on if you exercise his 5th-year option when the time comes, depending on how he plays. But he's definitely a guy I could see having those whole 5 years because, I mean, he's been great at Penn State. He's phenomenal. And, I mean, this is really his first full year at edge rusher, and he's already one of the best edge rushing prospects in the last couple years. So I'm going to go Abdul Carter 2 still. Keep that generally the same, those 2 first picks. But number 3, I went Shadur Sanders for the Giants. This time, I'm going to go with Travis Hunter. And the reason why I'm going to go Travis Hunter here is, I've said it time and time again, this dude is generationally the best athlete that has entered a draft. I mean, honestly, the shades of a player that you see out of Travis Hunter is shades of Deion Sanders. He's been coached by Deion his whole collegiate career, and Deion has really shaped him into being a modern day version of himself. And Travis Hunter is just unbelievable. His versatility, unbelievable. The fact he can play both sides of the ball and be at the top of the game at both sides of the ball is just unheard of. And that's why I think in this situation the Giants can't really pass up on that, because you have a big problem at corner because Deonte Banks isn't working out. So I think you go Travis Hunter, you get that guy who can play corner, put him alongside Drew Phillips, Tyler Newman, and Javon Holland, who just signed there. So they've got a really nice defense coming their way in New York, and especially if you draft Travis Hunter, which I say they will. So now moving on to pick number 4, the New England Patriots. This puts them in a little bit of a difficult situation. I've been having Travis Hunter to the Patriots a lot, and I think that's because I've had 2 of the top 3 picks being quarterbacks. But if the 2 of the top 3 picks aren't quarterbacks, the Patriots aren't going to get Travis Hunter. So I'm going to go with Will Campbell here. I do think that the Jets, last mock draft, I had the Jets taking the first tackle in Armand Membu. I don't think that he is the guy that the Patriots will probably want. I think the Patriots will want Will Campbell a little bit more. Once again, your number one priority should be protect Drake May at all cost, and this will help with that number one issue. So he's fantastic. He's a ferocious offensive lineman. He's got toughness. He's got everything. So I think it's a great pickup for the Patriots. That's another team I could also see maybe trading down. Maybe there's a team that wants to trade up and thinks that, hey, maybe there's a guy that we really like that's going to be picked before us. I want to trade up so we can get him before the team ahead of us that will probably take him as well. But for now, I've got them sticking at 4, taking Will Campbell, because I think Will Campbell is a very good tackle prospect that you can't pass up on. So now number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's been, I think, 2 or 3 players that I've picked for Jacksonville this entire draft process. Will Johnson, Mason Graham, and Travis Hunter. It's going to stay that way. We're going to go Mason Graham again. I mean, I just think the defensive interior is an issue in Jacksonville, and Mason Graham just solves it. He solves it perfectly for the Jaguars. So now at number 6, we had a whole debacle, a whole little debate in my last video about this pick. What's going to happen with this pick? Is Ashton Jeanty the right pick? We picked Ashton Jeanty last time. Funny enough, the article right there is my recent article on the Raiders pick, because I love this pick. I think this pick is one of the most interesting picks in the entire draft. I also believe that the Saints could be a very interesting pick. The Browns have a very interesting pick. But this Raiders pick is very interesting to me about the whole, do you pick the positional need, number 1? Do you go positional need and best prospect? Do you go best prospect? Regardless, I think Ashton Jeanty is the answer for any of those questions for the Raiders. I mean, the last place in rushing yards, 79.8 rushing yards a game, or maybe it was 78.9 or 79.8, one of those two. Last in the NFL last year. You need to get that improvement. You did sign Raheem Mostert, but that running back room is atrocious, and Ashton Jeanty brings so much to you. If they don't go Jeanty, I could really see them, possibly going defensive line. I could see them going corner. I personally like the Tetairoa McMillan pick as well, but I don't think anything else fits better for them than Ashton Jeanty at number 6. Now at number 7 to the New York Jets, we're going to keep a little bit of the same again. 5, 6, 7 is the exact same. Armand Mambu to the Jets. I mean, you sign Justin Fields to, I believe, a 2-year deal. You need to keep him safe and let him show what he can do and really make him fully prove it. Say, hey, we built a team around you. You need to prove that you can be our starting quarterback. So Armand Mambu, number 7. I do think wide receivers also in play. I think Tetairoa McMillan is also a big consideration here at 7 because, Devontae Adams cut. You have Garrett Wilson still, and then other than that, I mean, I can't really think of a guy off maybe Xavier Gibson, I think his name is, the undrafted guy that 2 years ago won the game for them in the season opener against the Bills on a punt return. But that's about it. That's the only really wide receivers I can think on the Jets right now, because Mike Williams obviously left mid-season. He got traded to Pittsburgh. So now number 8 to the Panthers. Carolina, I mean, I believe I went Tetairoa McMillan at number 8. I'm going to switch it up. I just think that I did do that last time, but their number 1 need is edge rushers. So we're going to go Mike Green. Mike Green reminds me a lot of Nolan Smith. And I've seen some people also say he reminds them of Nolan Smith. He's an athletic freak. He's able to produce numbers, but obviously Mike Green's numbers are a lot better. But he was also in the Sun Belt. So it's always nice to see a guy from the smaller conference absolutely just produce in college and prove that they should be a top pick regardless of what college they're at. I think Mike Green's one of them. Some part of me doesn't really look at smaller school teams and be like, oh, I can trust this guy to be one of the best picks in the draft because, my Saints in 2018, when I was really hoping we would draft Lamar Jackson, traded up and drafted Marcus Davenport from UTSA, and you saw how that went out. He was terrible. But I do think Mike Green is a lot better than Marcus Davenport. I'm not comparing him to Marcus Davenport. I think he has a lot more potential than Marcus Davenport. But Mike Green, I think, is a great spot for them, a team that just desperately needs an edge rusher. So he'll go number 8 to Carolina. Now, number 9 to the Saints, I believe I went Jalen Walker last time. I'm going to go Jalen Walker again. I think that that's a perfect fit for the Saints. They need a guy to be able to edge rush, and I mean, you know, with Demario Davis getting older, they could use a guy that can be off-ball linebacker as well. So I think a guy like Jalen Walker is perfect for him. You know, you get the guy who can not only be a great off-ball linebacker, but he can be a very good edge rusher. So Jalen Walker is the best of both worlds for New Orleans. With Brandon Staley at DC, I think I said it last time. Brandon Staley would be able to really just use this guy in special ways to be able to make him a force in his rookie year and moving on. So Jalen Walker will be number 9. And then to top out the top 10, we're going to go with another edge rusher. I went Will Campbell here last draft. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I did. And the reasoning behind that is because I was like, you know, they did pick up a lot of guys. You know, they got Jonah Jackson. They got the Falcons center. Can't think of his name. And then they traded for Joe Thuney, right? I like and then they obviously have Darnell Wright on one of the tackles positions. I can't think of the other offensive lineman, which is, I feel like I should know, but I don't think the Bears go O-line anymore. I really don't think that. I think with the improvements to your O-line, you really have the potential to go to your defensive side of the football where you have so many problems. Maybe you trade back and hope that Malachi Stark's there at maybe like 15. You trade up with somebody over there, but I'm going to go edge rusher. I'm going to go Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams really just, as I've said, him and Shamar Stewart just really remind me of Trayvon Walker. Their athletic upside is unbelievable. Mykel Williams also is still only 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's just got the potential to become a athletic freak at edge rusher, and he was at Georgia, but he does need some refining. He does need some, you know, some fine tuning. So, but Mykel Williams rounds out the top 10 to Chicago. Now, number 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe I might have gone Will Campbell here, actually. It was either 10 or 11, or maybe it was an edge rusher. I think it might have been Shamar. No. Okay, don't quote me on any of that. However, we're going to switch it up. We're going corner here. I'm going to go Jahdae Barron. The reason I'm going to go Jahdae Barron over Will Johnson, who I think I went Will Johnson, actually, at 11 last time. But I think I'm going to flip them this time. I think that Jahdae Barron fits San Francisco a little bit better than Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson's more of a outside corner, you know, be able to do the outside position, and that's really kind of where I would want to sit him at in the NFL. Jahdae Barron, I feel like I can move wherever I want, and so that's why I'm going to go him to San Francisco. He's actually also just an athletic monster at corner. He's very physical, a little too physical at times. Kind of reminds me of Terrion Arnold, who is very handsy. He's very handsy, and that causes penalties to come, and that could also lead for Jahdae Barron to get some penalties because he might be too handsy. But I think Jahdae Barron to the Niners is a great pick for San Francisco. So we'll move on to number 12, Dallas Cowboys. If you're a Dallas fan, I think you're happy about this. I think I went Matthew Golden here. Maybe I still went Tetaroa, but I'm going to go Tetaroa McMillan at number 12 to Dallas. I believe I did go Matthew Golden. And the reason why I'm going to go with Tetaroa McMillan is obviously, as I said in the last one, Cooks is gone. You really only have CeeDee Lamb. You do have Jake Ferguson, but blah, 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 you know, whatever. Dak Prescott, whatever. You could, you know, even though I don't think it's going to happen, maybe Jerry decides, hey, Shitter's still here. Let's draft him. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think Tetaroa McMillan's a great, great fit for Dallas. So I'm going to go Tetaroa McMillan at number 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, at 13, here's my one trade. We're going to go Miami trading down. And there's one team on the board who doesn't have a quarterback. And I think they might do this. I really do think they might do this. I don't have the specifics for this trade. I believe that it's going to take two top 100 picks at least. Maybe the Dolphins give a couple of day 3 back or something, but there's gonna be some more trades than just obviously straight up. The Dolphins would never do that. And the Steelers are gonna trade to 13. And the reason the Steelers trade up to 13 is so they can take Shadur Sanders. They are going to trade up 8 spots and take the Colorado quarterback. They are in a desperate need for a QB. I almost had them trading down with Washington. Washington going up to draft Luther Burden at 21, and then at 29, the Steelers go ahead and pick Dart. But you get to pick 13. You get to a team like the Dolphins, who I think there's a guy that they can get in the later half of this draft and, get more draft capital. So I think the Dolphins hit up Pittsburgh and say, hey, we know that you want this guy. We are willing to trade our pick. And then, they negotiate. The Steelers get pick 13. Shadur Sanders goes into Pittsburgh. And, that's a great situation for him. He gets George Pickens and DK Metcalf. However, they do need to fill out that running back spot. I think second round, third round, you try to get a guy like Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, maybe Dylan Sampson or Caleb Johnson, one of those guys. I think that Scattaboo is going to be gone by their second round pick. I think the Cowboys could very easily go and pick up Scattaboo in the second round. I don't know. It might be a little too early for Cam Scattaboo, but we're going to go with Shadur Sanders, 13, after the trade up for Pittsburgh. And I think I really do think that's a possibility. Do I think it's 100% guaranteed? No, but I think it's a possibility that Pittsburgh trades up. So 14th overall now to the Colts. The Colts have the easiest choice of their life. It's Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren just fits them perfectly here. They missed out on Brock Bowers last year. They don't miss out on the tight end prospect this year. They get Tyler Warren. 15 now to the Falcons. I've been going edge rusher a lot. I think about going Jahad Campbell here, but we're gonna scroll down a little bit. We're gonna go Matthew Golden actually. I think if you add Matthew Golden to a wide receiver core of Drake London and Darnell Mooney, that wide receiver core is deadly. You've got Penix back there, and dude, that's a great offense to watch. Bijan, you got Pitts, who still isn't living up to what he should be. You've got Drake London, you've got Matthew Golden, you've got Darnell Mooney, you've got Michael Penix under center. I think that's a very, very, very scary offense. I do think the edge rusher position is a must need for them in this draft, which, if you look at the edge rushers, I don't think these top four will be there for their next pick. Maybe Landon Jackson. I think Landon Jackson is who I had them taking in the second round. Him or Princely. Or the two guys that I really see falling to Atlanta in the second round. But other than that, Matthew Golden, first round pick. I think it's a good spot for Matthew Golden to be able to kind of build around two other young wide receivers and just be able to make a pretty good trio. So now 16 to the Cardinals. I've been going interior like the whole time. Interior, edge rusher, the entire draft process, it seems like. But we're going to switch it up. We're going to go Will Johnson at 16 to the Cardinals. I think that looking at what Arizona would like to be able to fill when you have a guy like Will Johnson at pick number 16, I think that it's kind of hard to pass up on a guy like that. Arizona could really use a guy that can shut down a half of the field and, really be able to break down on routes and undercut passes and take them to the house. Do all of that. It's honestly something that's insane and fun to watch. What he can do on the field. We obviously didn't get to watch him do it this last year because he only played 6 games. But in 6 games he had 2 pick sixes, and so that is just incredible. And so Will Johnson goes 16 to Arizona. Now 17 to Cincinnati. We're going to go with, the number one need, edge rusher. We're going to go Shamar Stewart. I think he's another Trayvon Walker type guy. But, I hound on it every time. His height and his weight, 6'6", 290, 21 years old, and he's absolutely athletic at the edge rusher position. It's something that I really admire watching in Shamar Stewart. And that's why I think that, even though he's projected, I think 25th, to be like 25th in this big board, I don't think that's the full truth. I think he's one of the top 4 edge rushers. I think I do literally have him as the 4th edge rusher off the board. So he's a great pickup for Cincinnati, who, Hendrickson might be gone, and then their pass rush was just horrendous last year. So we're going to go with Shamar Stewart to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now at 18 to the Seahawks. I did this last time. I've been doing this a while. We're going to go Kelvin Banks Jr. Kelvin Banks can move around the offensive line, and Seattle needs help on the offensive line. You do not want to let Sam Darnold stay back there and keep getting hit and keep getting hurt. Kelvin Banks Jr. will improve your offensive line. I thought about Josh Simmons here. I just like Kelvin Banks Jr.'s ability to move around more and his ability to possibly move into guard a lot more than Josh Simmons, who's coming off of a season-ending injury. So now 19 to Tampa Bay. I went with Jahdae Barron here. Don't have Jahdae Barron. Obviously, he went gone at pick number 11. But we're going to go with another DB, different position, Malachi Starks at number 19 to Tampa Bay, which kind of bums out Miami a little bit, but I think they've got another guy in their brain because they would like a safety in this draft if I am the Dolphins. Malachi Starks is a great player. He is so pro-ready at the safety position. I love watching him play. I think he's a guy that will stay back at safety a little bit more. Him and Antoine Winfield Jr. would be a great duo to watch, and I think Malachi Starks finds himself in Tampa Bay and finds himself a great little gig there in Tampa Bay. So playing alongside of another great safety. So Malachi Starks at 19. Now for number 20, you're probably wondering why am I in the running back slot? It's because the Broncos 100% need a running back. They need a wide receiver too, but I think the running back position, even though it's a lot deeper, I think when a guy like this is still here, I think you pick him just in case a team like Washington or a team like Minnesota tries to pick him up. I'm going to go Amarian Hampton. I really do think that if there is any world that Genty falls to 20, the Broncos will pick him up, maybe even trade up a little bit to pick him up because the Broncos are in need for a running back. They just lost Javonte Williams. They go and pick up another North Carolina running back who I think is going to be better than Javonte Williams was. Amarian Hampton is fantastic. I've been seeing comparisons recently that people are saying, is Genty and Amarian Hampton going to be the next Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs? Now, not in exact play style, not in, they're going to be top running backs like that, but they're going to be, in my opinion, the two running backs to go in the first round. I think there will be two running backs in the first round. And I think that Amarian Hampton and Ashton Genty will impact their teams like Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson did when they started out. Now, I don't think that they're going to, in their second seasons, be like the top, like a bona fide top 5 running back, top 10 running back, which they very well could. But these two guys are going to be so impactful if they land to these two teams especially. So Amarian Hampton is a great pick for Denver. Sean Payton's been saying he really wants to, get some versatile playmakers at tight end and at running back. Well, they just signed Evan Ingram. Now you need that running back one. Amarian Hampton at pick number 20 is perfect for you, Sean. And now 21 for the Dolphins. You could go a couple ways. You could go defensive interior. You could go Kenneth Grant. You could go Walter Nolan. Or you could go offensive line. Josh Simmons is here. Josh Connerly is here. Gray Zabel is here. But instead, I'm going to go with safety still. And what safety am I going to go with? The guy that I was so high on my first mock draft. I actually had him in the first round. I think some people were a little confused why I would have Nick Emmanwori in my first round back then. Well, guess what? His combines proved that he has potential to be a first rounder. He's a first rounder in my eyes in this mock draft. Goes 21st to Miami. And Miami gets a great player. You look at the way that their team's operating right now. Jalen Ramsey's playing less and less in the slot. Nick Emmanwori can play down as a strong safety. You could even slide him into the slot role. He is such an athletic monster at safety. He's being compared to Derwin James, who Derwin James is one of my most favorite safeties to watch play football. He is just a hard hitter. He can cover. He'll make you pay. And that's what Nick Emmanwori, I think, can do for Miami in that defense. So I think it's a good pickup for Miami, and we'll move on to 22. Now, with 22 for the Chargers, they did just get back Mike Williams. They have Ladd McConkey. Now, my thing with this one is a lot of the wide receivers still, a.k.a. Emeka Egbuka and Luther Burden, are very slot reliant. And I think, well, not reliant, but they're very good in the slot. And I think that Ladd McConkey is also going to be a really good slot guy later on. So it's like, who do I really want him to pair with more? And I think that, my opinion, I want Emeka Egbuka being paired there more. I do think it's not ridiculous to say that Loveland could also be in play here at 22 because, why wouldn't Harbaugh want to draft one of his guys when they need that position? But I'm going to go with wide receiver this time around. I think I did also go wide receiver last time. They could very, very, very easily go D-line. They need D-line. Joey Bosa's gone. He's a Bill. But we're going to go with wide receiver. Emeka Egbuka is, honestly a little bit underrated in this year's draft. I think that he has potential to maybe even be a top 15 pick, be where I put Matthew Golden. I think people just kind of forget that he's been a draft-ready prospect that people have been talking about for 3 years. He's been a guy that people have been like, oh, if he enters the draft, he could be a first-rounder. So, and then obviously he broke those records at Ohio State. So we'll go Emeka Egbuka at pick 22. Now at 23 to the Packers, I believe the same position, we're going to go Kenneth Grant. That defensive interior really is a big need for Green Bay. I think it's the number one priority in the first round. Maybe edge rusher, maybe corner. I just really think Kenneth Grant at pick 23 is really good for Green Bay. And then 24, I'll do it again, Walter Nolan. Those two, I think, might go back-to-back, maybe flip. I think these two spots, defensive interior, is a big need for both of those teams. I could also see, if he falls, Nick Amenwari going 24 to the Vikings. But obviously he doesn't here. Those two guys could just be game changers for those two NFC North teams. So Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan, 23 and 24. Now at 25 to the Texans, I did Gray Zabel last time. This time we're just going to stick overall offensive line. Laremy Tunsil. Without Laremy Tunsil, you use a bunch of that draft capital to move on some other positions. And I think in a weaker interior offensive line class, you maybe try and get Tate Ratledge later in the draft, maybe a Seth McLaughlin or a Luke Kandra, which I actually don't mind Luke Kandra. But we're gonna go with Josh Simmons here. I think he can be a centerpiece of your offensive line. I think he was very good at Ohio State, and then obviously he got hurt in the Oregon game, I believe. That dude is just going to be able to be a very good first rounder. I mean, before his injuries, he was a very highly projected first rounder. Obviously, now with the injuries, he's no longer projected high first round, but he's still projected first round, and that says a lot about him. You look at guys like Savone Ravel from East Carolina, who was a projected first rounder. He gets hurt in the preseason. We don't see any tape of him. He's no longer projected to be a first rounder. But then Josh Simmons plays, 4 games, I think is how much it was. And he's projected to be a first rounder still. So that is such a big need for Houston. So I think that Josh Simmons is a good pick here. I was also contemplating Tyler Booker, the offensive guard from Alabama, but did not go with that. Now, number 26 to the Rams. I'm going to go, let's keep on making that youth movement in Los Angeles. They get an off-ball linebacker in Jihad Campbell. I think he just becomes a big presence in the box, off the ball, obviously. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse. That is an unbelievable defensive line, a young D-line. And then you go ahead and you also get Jihad Campbell to play linebacker. I think also you could see them going Maxwell Hairston or not Trey Harris, Trey Amos. Those maybe go corner. But I like Jihad Campbell here at 26. I think that he has potential to go higher. And I think that's why if the Rams see him at 26, the Rams are 100% going to jump the gun and take him because that is a great pick for them. So now 27 to the Ravens. We're going to keep it the same way. Donovan Izuraku. I can still not say it. Izuraku is how I'll say it. I'll still keep on working on how to pronounce it and everything because I would like to be able to say it correctly. But I love the way that he looked at Boston College. I mean, I think most sacks in Power 4. If I'm not mistaken, 14 sacks, I believe, was the most sacks in Power 4. And he is a monster. He was a monster at Boston College this last season. I think that with a team like Baltimore who really needs an edge rusher, who I also think could possibly go interior, maybe a Gray Zabel, maybe a Josh Connerly, because that offensive line could use a little bit of help. I think edge rusher, getting a young edge rusher is beneficial to Baltimore. So Now at pick 28 to the Lions, I've been going edge rusher a lot. I went James Pierce Jr. This time we're going to go interior, and we're going to go with Tyler Booker from Alabama. I think that the guard position is very beneficial for the Lions. You know, getting youth on your offensive line as your offensive line slowly gets older and older. You know, and then adding him with Penei Sewell, you could put them on the same side if you'd like, opposite sides if you'd like. I think Tyler Booker just really helps with the scheming. Obviously, Ben Johnson's not there anymore, so there's going to be a different offensive scheme. But yeah, I just think as the O-line gets older and older, you need to bring in younger and younger players, and Tyler Booker will do that just well for you. I do think James Pierce Jr. is also very well in play here, but I'm going to go with the offensive line this time. So now 29 to the Washington Commanders. We're going to go with Luther Burden. You know, they did just trade for Deebo Samuel. Obviously, they traded for Laramie Tunsil, and those were two of my biggest positions for them alongside of corner. Now, last time I went Maxwell Hairston because of his athletic upside. I don't have Hairston as a first rounder this time. I have him as a second rounder in this mock draft. Obviously, we don't dive into the second round, but that's where I'll have him. Luther Burden seems like he really wants to play for Washington. Luther Burden added onto this team who doesn't have Jahan, or not Jahan. What's that guy's name, man? Diami Brown. You know, and then you have a wide receiver core of Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and then you have Luther Burden. Luther Burden gets to learn from both of those guys, develop under both of those guys. And then he also gets to catch passes from Jaden Daniels. That is a match made in heaven for Luther Burden, who is a very, very highly touted prospect who is falling down draft boards. I think it'd be kind of crazy to see him fall at 29, but I think it's also possible. But Luther Burden to the Commanders is a win-win for the Commanders and for Luther Burden because he gets to go play with Jaden Daniels. Now, pick number 30 to the Bills. I've been doing this so much. I'm going to keep doing it. Derek Harmon. I just think the presence in the interior for Buffalo is a big need with their D-line getting older. I think Ed Oliver's still there, but he's getting older. The former draft pick out of Houston. But Derek Harmon, I like him a lot. I might be planning to make a draft profile on him. I know Xavier Watts is going to be next, which I promised about a month ago, but we're getting to it eventually. It'll be probably within the next week. I've just been trying to compile clips and whatnot. It's kind of hard to find, go online and try and find clips of players not succeeding because obviously that's not going to be publicized in much places. So, because I need to be able to point out weaknesses, but whatever. Now 31 into the Kansas City Chiefs. This one really pains me to do. I really hope this doesn't happen. I hope he goes earlier. If the Chiefs manage to get Colston Loveland in the first round, the league is going to be so upset. The league will be very upset. It will be like last year with Xavier Worthy. Kelce is getting so old. Oh, yeah, that's fine. We'll just pick up a guy in the first round. This guy named Colston Loveland, who, was one of the better receiving tight ends in a while. So, yeah, we'll just pick him up. We'll be fine. Kelce, whenever he retires, we'll have this guy learn from Kelce and catch passes from Patrick Mahomes. Boom. Problem solved. That's an unbelievable spot for him. I do think it's not the biggest concern because you do have some offensive line concerns after trading Joe Thuney. Josh Connerly's there, Gray Zabel's there. I just really think if Loveland's there at 31, the Chiefs say we don't need to worry about the team need more than we should worry about this guy could be the future of our tight end position after Kelce's gone, even though Noah Gray has been really good for them as the backup tight end. But to round it all up, the Eagles will go either wide receiver, edge rusher. I'm not going to go Alec Iomaner this early. We'll go James Pierce Jr. to wrap up the first round. An absolute athletic freak. The Eagles did it again. They got a steal in the first round in James Pierce Jr. I honestly would lose my mind if they were able to get James Pierce Jr. in the first. But that'll wrap up our mock draft for today. Let me know what you guys thought about this one. It's a little bit different. Our first trade of this draft cycle was just one, but it's, I think, a pretty interesting one. So this will be maybe our third to last mock draft, 7.0. We're trying to finish at 8 or at 9, maybe 10. Might do a 2-rounder. You guys let me know what you think about a 2-rounder in the comment section below. And then based off of what you guys say, I might do a 2-rounder towards the end of the draft like towards the week of the draft cycle, maybe the 2 weeks before the draft cycle, which is technically this week, I'm pretty sure, or the next upcoming week. So just let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think about your team's pick. Let me know what you think about other teams' picks. What you want to see happen, what kind of trades you want to see happen, and who's your favorite prospect. Actually, put that down. If you watch all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to see you in the comments putting down who is your favorite first-round talent in this year's draft. And I would love to be able to read all of those. So, and it gives me some joy knowing that that you stayed through, watch the whole video. So, with that being said, that's going to be all for today, obviously. So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe once again if you keep on coming to my content, or this is your first time and you're enjoying it. It's free, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.